because I already got Niki to sign this one. It says Niki Botelho #2, which is actually #1 for the northern hemisphere, because #1 is in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah. And that's it. That's all I'm signed.
So,
$2.
$2.
Yeah. Special.
So So without further ado, I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves.
You want to go first, Niki?
Go ahead, ladies
Okay.
first.
Unless you need more time.
Here's the live stream. So I'm live.
Hello, everybody. I'm Eric Walker, also known as Mace Tawani, Star Wars' first Mace.
Mace lives.
And thank you for having me out here. I can't wait to share great stories, show you some great behind-the-scenes photographs that I took, my father took, before the lockdown. Now you can't take a camera to set anymore, right? Yeah. I hope nobody got in trouble. Did they?
As far as I know.
Anyway, it's hard to believe that 41 years later, I'm sitting here in San Francisco having this conversation with a bunch of fans of the Star Wars universe, and Ewoks in particular. I know that when we were making the Ewok adventure, the publicist at Lucasfilm was shaking me one day, Eric, you know how long you're going to be famous? And I said, I don't know. I'm only 14 years old. And she goes, Eric, you're going to be famous for at least 10 years. And here it is 41 years later. So they didn't even know that this was going to happen. And it's a great thing. Star Wars is for everybody. Every new show is for every new generation. And let's all be positive, because every Star Wars thing that comes out is better than everything else out there anyway, even if you don't like it.
All right. I don't know what to say. You guys want to ask questions, or you ask the questions, or what?
Well, just introduce yourself.
I'm Niki Botelho, and I joined the party on the second one, the Ewoks Battle for Endor. And I played that little guy Teak. And they just made that doll, like, recently. So they don't have anything out there, like maybe we'll action figure in the Star Tour set, but, so we wait a long time, something like that. But, and Teak actually started out as a puppet. I don't know how much you guys know about this. And you know how he was Wilford's sidekick? Well, Wilford was just not having it, like, interacting with a puppet. We'll just put it that way. He was not happy. So, actually, he was so unhappy that he shot all his scenes second unit. You see that? Yeah? Okay.
It's so long, nobody cares.
Nobody cares anymore, yeah, right? But he shot.
Johnston directed
Joe Johnston directed second unit, and Wilford got along a lot better with Joe Johnston. So a lot of my shots were shot during second unit. And next thing you know, I'm like at the creature shop, and they're doing full-on life cast with Blue. I'm 16 years old. I'm just thrilled because I don't have to go to school, you know. I'm there, and they've got craft service, every cookie up that, you know. I'm like, you really don't have to pay me, you know. So, you know, and they did the life casting with the straws up my nose. And I didn't know what was going on. It was the first thing I'd ever done, and they didn't tell me much. And they just kind of guided me, you know, and then my parents are up there signing my life away in the contract. There you go. Who wants to be her guardian, you know? Because I was in the city and we shot in Marin. But, so it is amazing that it's been 40 years. And God bless you, Wilford. Teak would be Teak without Wilford, you know? So it was awesome. It was great. I have nothing but positive memories about it and the crew, and I can't believe it. It's amazing. Amazing.
Hey everybody, my name is Howie and I've been kind of a creature maker off and on in the film industry for a really long time. But to go back to Ewok's Caravan of Courage, I had worked on my first professional creature movie, which was Gremlins. It was the very first thing I worked on. And I got rolled off of that, it was complete, and I was at home and I was depressed. And I thought maybe that's the end of it. I got to go back to film school. Like that might be the last creature thing I get a call for. And my phone rang, a physical phone, no cell phones back then, physical phone, and it was John Berg. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with John. He was the animator of the Walkers for Empire Strikes Back, and also Phil Tippett was part of this crew. So Phil's kind of the creature guy who did the little animated creatures on the hollow chess set in Star Wars. So two like mavericks as far as I'm concerned, and I was just thrilled that John called. And he said, we've got this small Lucasfilm project. Would you want to come help us make some monsters? And I'm like, yes. But it wasn't through Lucasfilm. I wasn't going to go to ILM and like be in their cool creature shop, the one that they had in Jedi or anything. It was going to be in John's garage, like he was a subcontractor. So that's what I stepped into, is just the shop that we just built, and then we made the creatures for the show. And it was a gas. Had a really good time. Super small crew, and it was all puppets and guys in creature suits. So anyway, I'll tell you more about that.
All right, so how awesome is that? And let me just warn you, you're gonna hear all the dirt today because most of the people that were around back then aren't around anymore. So they're gonna be free to disclose everything. So aren't we lucky? So those are the introductions. And they've worked on a lot of great stuff. And speaking of the dirt, I'm gonna ask you guys, what was one of your favorite memories about working on, I'm gonna ask you, Howie, what was one of your favorite features that you worked on the films? On Star Wars specifically? On the
Caravan.
Caravan.
I like the boar wolf. The boar wolf. I thought he was really cool. And he was a puppet for my purposes. His head was about this big. I actually have a casting at home, which I did not bring. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And I got to basically mechanize it so that he could be here. So his nose snip and his brows go down and his lips snarl. And it was a hand puppet that you would just hold up in the camera and it would take bites at the camera. There was also a full-size one once it's killed. There's somebody somewhere sculpted a gigantic full-size one that the Ewoks could stand around as if, with their spears and everything. So yeah, that was my favorite one.
So it's so different, such a different time that, like how we make movies now, it's so different. Imagine how times were back then that you could just like bring your cameras to the set, take pictures of everything, and have them at your home and post them online, and it's just a different time. No, there was no online, no cell phones.
It was either all the way in the suits or all the way out. The cameras and pictures, like no half shots or anything like that, because you wanted to keep the whole illusion, of it. So that was like a huge no-no, and I was only 16, I was like, But yeah, that's just a little tidbit.
So Niki, any funny stories that you can tell us, Niki, about what happened to you during the filming of the show?
There's quite a few. But let's see, the one that kind of stands out was we were shooting a scene with second unit Joe, and it was a POV, and it was overlooking this ravine, and all the marauders, right, was big, and those were all UCSF basketball players. Yes, so it's funny too, during like in between shots, you would just see like bodies laying everywhere in the forest. And they blended because they had the burlap and stuff like that, so you can see it like move, and you're like, oh my God, But, so they were all descending down the hill. It's a POV of Teague checking them out, and someone got the wonderful idea. Ooh, let's have her get up and walk out of frame, right? And Joe was like, I'm not liking this. So he put on the slate DUP. I didn't know what that meant. Does anybody know what that is? Directed under protest. But it's cover your own ass, right? And so he put that, but that's how Joe knew, you know what I mean? Like, they had padding all down on this side, like, in case I fell, like, and people would catch me and everything like that. And of course, I walked right beyond the padding and all the way down, and all I could hear was like tree branches breaking and people, get her! Yeah, screaming. And I just go with it, man. I'm 16 and I just stay loose, right? Stay loose. Roll. Get down the bottom. It was almost like a 10 landing. I went like on one foot and I bounced up. bam, face plant. Into the little, what was left of the creek right there. And so everybody came running. The marauders came running down, and that costume is all patty. So when it gets wet, it's like a ton of breaks, right? So I'm like, I could have drowned in 2 inches of water. I didn't know. And they just, these big ass guys pulled me up like that and ripped off my head. And I just kind of like, whoa. And they're all in their costumes still. Marauders, checking me out. So we did that. I was okay. A different time, right? But you can get away with that. Like, she's fine. Her parents are around now. It's great. And so what they did was the creature shop painted this big bruise on my back. Yeah, because I guess they wanted to see. It must have been the first student directors that had the idea of me getting up walking off, because they were like, oh, we're going to get up good. So I go down to base camp, everybody heard about the fall, and the Wheat brothers were, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. My back kind of hurts a little bit, And I pull up my shirt, and they're like, oh my God. And they're like, oh my God. And they're like trying not to let me look. Like, somebody take us to the doctor? I couldn't last that long. I felt bad for them. I started laughing. They laughed, and they're like, yeah, very funny. So that was my little tale.
That's pretty funny. I think that's not the only mishap that happened in movies, right, Eric? Didn't you have a mishap on one of your filmings too?
Well, I mean, there was one time when we were filming inside the Star Cruiser at Cookie Bay, actually. And let me see if I can find a picture.
What's Cookie Bay?
Cookie Bay is a smaller soundstage at ILM, and then they have the main stage.
It used to be an unknown Jerome cookie factory.
Right? We were wondering how it got its name, and we couldn't remember. But it was.
The ILMers always knew it was 10 o'clock because it would smell like cookies all over the shop.
Yes. Anyway, there's a picture of the actual Mace Tawani Star Cruiser I put up there. You can take a look at. But
it's not. Yeah, you need. Yeah.
Turn on. Did I make it too big?
Or is it 2 screens?
It's not.
Might be two screens.
It's not appearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not mirrored.
Okay, technical issues. Okay, we'll roll with the flow. Anyway, so I come in the if you remember in Caravan of Courage, he grabs one of the Ewoks and comes in hot, mad, leave my sister alone, leave, get your hands off her now. But before he does that, he fires like a warning shot, and you see the squib go off in the corner. Well, they didn't know it, and one of the squibs actually went down inside my boot. It was burning my sock and my feet, but I still did the whole take. And then I go, oh yeah, my foot's on fire, and I had a little. They didn't do anything like that for me because I didn't,
Because
it was just a little burn, yeah, because I was a brat probably. I was a teenager after all, right? Yeah, but there was another story when George was directing. A lot of people didn't know this until they came out with the book Star Wars Archives. But George actually directed a whole 1-week reshoot of Caravan of Courage. So he was directing back then. And one of the scenes when Mace and Sindel are holding the life monitor up above an Ewok hut, and he's trying to confront his sister, we're gonna go get mom and dad, help them. For some reason, I looked down right in the middle of the tape, and George Lucas was like smiling at me, and I thought, wow, he looks like an Ewok the way he's smiling at me. And I started laughing. He goes, what you laughing about? So I don't even know if I told him why I was laughing, but he did, because he had that beard and everything. And because it was just the angle, because I was above him, so. It wasn't the character based off. No, that was based off of the dogs. I think it's yeah. Anyway, there are lots of fun things on Caravan of Courage. I'm trying to get it up. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. We started filming Caravan of Courage June 11th, 1984. Ask me how I know that, because I have every single call sheet that my dad kept. Still. So, yeah, I wouldn't have had it. My dad kept it for me, believe me. So, maybe if we plug it in, should I plug it in and take it out maybe?
So Howie, you worked on, so you're saying you worked on the puppets also?
Caravan of Courage, there needed to be some, like 5 or 6 Ewoks celebrating that they had killed the boar wolf. So they didn't really have actors cast or costume people to do that. So they asked us, can you guys make little tiny Ewok puppets that can dance? And we sort of said, well, we can try. And they basically made Ewoks on a popsicle stick. So they didn't have anything below the waist, but there was like a tube of fur, and then there were like arms and a head, and costume pieces and stuff. And we shot those shots of the little Ewoks at Skywalker Ranch. We got no permission to do it. We just drove out there and about, this winding wooden road that goes to the big house. And about halfway, it's all shaded and beautiful. It looks like you're on Endor. And about halfway, we just pulled over. And they said, okay, everybody get out of the car. Grab those puppets and run up the hill. We all just started running up the hill. And I was like, are we shooting now? What's happening? And they're like, just do what I say. So they said, hold up the puppets over your heads. And we did. He said, make them dance. And we started moving them around. And they had a camera guy run up the hill and shoot the trees in the background and just the little puppets in the foreground. We did that for like maybe 3 minutes, and they said, okay, we've got it. Everyone run down to the car. So we all ran back and jumped in the car, and that's how that shot got done. Like no permission, no nothing, just did it.
Yeah, so that's how we did things in the old days.
That reminds me, since you were talking about the popsicle stick, when we did the screen test for Caravan of Courage with Aubrey Miller and myself at Cordy Films in Mill Valley. John Cordy was the director, and probably near the end of the day, they wanted to make sure that Aubrey, because she was only 4 years old, she wouldn't be afraid of an Ewok, so they brought an Ewok out on a stick. And she immediately ran up to it and started hugging it. No problem. Yeah. She had not. No, absolutely not. She was like a model for, like, I don't know, back in the day, those department stores, and that's how they kind of found her. She was like doing pictures and clothes for kids' clothing. Yeah, she hadn't acted before this particular part.
She was little, and they had curled her hair every time. Right?
That's true. Yeah, Aubrey Miller has straight hair. She had to have curls. That poor girl, all night long. Every night, yeah.
I'm a preschool teacher, so I work with 3 and 4 year olds. So I'm like that poor little 4-year-old. Because they had to feed her lines all the time.
Yes,
Yeah,
for sure.
little.
But she was she would repeat everything you said, and then right back at you, the same tone, everything you did. So, also, she got sick the first week we started filming, and just in case she wasn't going to get better, her photo double was shooting all the scenes with me, a girl named Bianca Rose. So somewhere out there's probably a week's worth of film with a different symbol. And
She was older, right?
Bianca Rose was older, yes, she was like 7 or 8. I think later, and also it's not Cindel's voice in the first movie, because she couldn't do ADR work. So in the first movie, her voice is dubbed by, I can't remember the actress's name, but she was the robot. What's that robot, that kid show?
Vicky.
Vicky, yeah. That's her. That's Cindel's voice in the first one. So, just movie magic. So let's see.
Yeah. Poor thing, we would go back to the hotel and swimming, but she'd have to be out by a certain time because she had to get the curlers in. Yeah, and get the curlers in for the night before. So like we go back after shoot, like swim real quick. That's all we wanted to do. Let's go back to the hotel and swim, right? We were kids.
That's what this is, right?
Yeah, it's the same hotel.
That's right, because this Eric did a nice thing for us. We went up and he did a tour for us, and we visited all the filming locations.
Yeah, Roy's Redwood.
Roy's
Preserve.
Redwoods, which you can go visit and see all
It's
the
a
filming
public park,
locations.
yeah.
It's a public park, and
And then I didn't tell everybody, but I brought Niki with me. So
that was a
everyone's
surprise,
surprised.
right? And that's when she signed my little teak. So, but I didn't bring that, so I'm gonna get her to sign this time. But we went for a tour of all the filming locations, and that was a lot of fun. And we stayed at the hotel where they stayed for the filming location, and it had a pool.
Right.
And so she just wanted to go swimming, right? It was fun, poor thing.
Even at the ranch, when we film at the ranch, they have the lake there. Same thing, but I was.
wouldn't call it a lake.
What would we call it? A
Pond.
And Brandon was like, well, this is the best thing ever, right? But so at lunchtime, everyone would go swimming. My hands were not the gloves, they were painted. And they had these little rubber tips on them and it painted them shine. So I could go swimming a lot of times at lunch. Everyone was like, yeah, but then they would love the creature shop because they'd have to paint the hands again all over again. So, but the creature shop, they were so cool. They would look and see what my shot was, like after lunch, you know, like, oh, she's fourth up. Let her look smart. Like, okay. So that was not one of the highlights, filming at the ranch, going swimming, right? Being a kid.
Howie, so you work on creatures, but you're also an actor, right? Can you tell us of your acting role? Were you also an actor in the Ewok movies?
I was, for the special edition, I was the Wampa from the Empire Strikes Back. So all the additional footage that they had of the ice creature looking around and all that stuff, that was me. I was the creature shop supervisor, and then I talked him into letting me be the guy in the suit. So yeah, it was a great one. And then other non-Star Wars related was I was Vigo the Carpathian in Ghostbusters 2 after Dan Aykroyd gets possessed. And it comes out of the painting. That's me screaming at the camera. It's my head exploding.
I see the resemblance. How's your arm, by the way?
It's fine. Yeah, that suit had Wampa suit had a whole detachable arm and then a plug that would go in there and then kind of clip it in there. And then I would just take my arm and do the stupid thing like, put your arm behind. And there were guys that were spraying chemicals on that arm piece, so like smoking. And George was on set for actually to be the shooting, be the director, which was a last second thing. I did not expect it. I mean, you had George as a young man, and I had George like he was in retirement. I didn't even think he would like come to the set. And all I could see was through these little tiny holes in my mask. I was like, oh shit. This is crazy, that's him. And he would come up and talk and give direction, and I wouldn't say anything, I'd just go.
Did George say fast and more intense with you too?
For the Wampa, we did it once, and then we shot it once, and I just did what I thought I should do, which I thought it would be this really cool strong gorilla, agile. And George said, cut, and he walked on the set and he goes, okay, I don't know what that was, but you're the slow, dumb bear. So you can only think one thought at a time, like, oh, I'm eating. And then if you hear something, you're like, what was that? And that's all you're thinking. And then you go, oh, I was eating. And you go back to eating. And so we just shot it continuously. We didn't turn the camera off. I just kept doing the same performance over and over. And he just kept screaming from the camera, slower, dumber. Just kept going slower until I felt like I was underwater going half speed. And I'm like, I can't go any slower than this. So I don't know which one they use, but somewhere in the middle there, they picked one.
That's really cool. That's
This,
so cool.
this picture it's on the screen is right before we take off in the Caravan, and what you see the whole Ewok tribe, and they couldn't get enough. So what they did was they brought kids that were 7 and 8 years old to get in the Ewok costumes. So we had a lot of teachers on the set that day, and a lot of social workers. Yeah, they did. Nope, they did it, not a problem. So other than the main Ewoks, when you see the other Ewoks cheering us leaving, that's children in the costumes. I don't know who they are, you know, I met them back then.
Those are extras?
They were extras, yeah. And also when they did that shot, that particular shot had the most cameras, and they had like 12 or 13 cameras. And they also were doing a matte painting, so they had one of the VistaVision cameras you're probably familiar with there too. So it's quite exciting to see. I would stop. I was always curious, so I would ask the cameraman, "What is it doing?" And they'd explain it's only photographing in one spot. The other part's not photographed, if I'm right. So.
Well, it's an extra large format, so they can use any part of it they want, and it'll look fine in standard 35mm.
Cool.
It's just huge. It's like kind of retro IMAX.
Okay.
You also work at ILM. Can you tell us about what that's like?
ILM is Nerd Valhalla. So basically, everybody there is graduated with like a PhD in their area, and I loved working there because no matter what the problem was, I could just walk down the hallway and say, "Hey, I got this problem." And they go, "Oh, I'll write you something." And before I could get back to my desk, they say, "Try this." And I go, "Oh, okay, that worked great." And he's like, "Okay, bye." And it was just a great place to work. And back in the days when we built models and sets and creatures and things, it was a crazy zoo of really fun people that had all different backgrounds. And we back in those days, there was no way to do it with CG. We had to make it work somehow. So there was just a lot of creativity, a lot of how are we going to get this done, puzzle solving. It was really fun.
And they all love Star Wars, of course, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, everybody loves Star Wars to like in a different way. I mean, I was young. I was a young guy when I started. Everyone was like 50, and I was like 22 or something. And so I had to listen to 60s music all the time. when I was working. But yeah, then I switched to computer graphics after Jurassic Park, and I was the old guy, and everybody else was 20. So
Nice. So Niki, any other interesting stories you can think of that you might want to share from your time on Caravan of Courage that you'd want to share with
Just that, like the whole teak head, it doesn't see out of the eyes, the little slits underneath. That's what I had to see out of. The little slits underneath the eyes, like the little wrinkle things. Yes, yeah, the cheeks. So literally, you can't see anything. And they're telling you to like, go do this, go do that, and you're like, yeah, right, let me see. And just the one scene where I'm in the hut with the biscuits, and oh my God, the simplest scene, putting biscuits in the pocket, right? Because I'm stealing them for, yeah. Looks like a little stash pouch. But, so finally, I could not get it in. And they're like, just dump them on the floor. Just pull it like that and dump them on the floor. I'm like, okay, we did that. But, just little things here and there. One it's kind of funny. I think it's kind of funny. Because, my hands were painted orange, right? And underneath this, in the suits, we had on what they called like pajama type things. I guess you wouldn't like sweat through totally on the costumes and everything like that. So, and I had a white shirt, and my hands were painted like up to my wrist, maybe orange. And I was just a little kid, but I had a white shirt, and on my white shirt was all orange, right here, like on my boobs, like I was feeling myself up. And it was just because it was rubbing, like on the side of my arm, like that. But I I remember like looking at pictures going, oh my God. I promise I wasn't.
Eric, what is one of your favorite memories of working on the films?
There's too many to name, so it'll take me a while. But the thing I liked most about working with Lucasfilm and ILM and everybody seemed like a family. You know, everybody was warm and they give you hugs and stuff like that. It just felt like a family atmosphere, and you felt like wanting to do better. Also, the next day after I filmed a certain scene, George came and visited the set. He brought his daughter Amanda Lucas and Linda Ronstadt, who he was dating at the time. So, he came up to me and he said, "You did a great job in that scene." And I'm thinking, he's telling me I did a great job. It was a scene where Mace and Endor are sitting at the fireside, and Mace is saying he wishes he was the best kid that ever was. So, anyway, let's show some. I'm sorry for getting emotional. Oh, by the way, here's for the screening of Ewoks too. You remember that? It was at the North Point Theater in San Francisco. Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, we got robbed here. It was on television. It should have everywhere else. Only in America and Canada it was on television. Even in Mexico, it was in a movie theater. So it was in a movie theater in every country. I happen to have posters that are Italian, German. Yeah, my favorite poster is the Japanese poster. Yeah. So, but one of the taglines was Ewoks: A Battle for Endor, just when you thought it was safe to go back into the Force. Like the Jaws thing. And from what I understand, I was reading something in a book recently, and apparently when they went to go start to write the second Ewok movie, George had really liked Sindel a lot, and he had seen the movie Howie. So when the Wheat Brothers and them came in, when he said, "This movie's going to be all about death," to quote him, that's what it's in the book actually, Star Wars Archives. And the first script was written was even way more hardcore than the Wheat Brothers came in and rewrote it, made it less about, hardcore.
Yes, there sure was a lot of death. Although Mace doesn't die.
No, he doesn't, because you never see Mace die, right?
Nope.
You just see a hut explode. Think
Yep.
about it.
Yep.
I mean, if Boba Fett could climb out of a Sarlacc pit, I think Mace, maybe the Sunstar Shadow Stone, which is an Ewok thing, maybe it transported him off when it blew up. Maybe he's alive. Who knows?
Yep.
I mean, we've had clues in Skeleton Crew when
About the light monitors
about the
not
live
working.
monitor, right? Skeleton Crew, when the mom says, "Well, it just turned off," and the daughter came back. So
Yeah, that was nice that the people at Skeleton Crew,
yeah,
they did a bunch of nods to the Ewok movie. They even had the puppet Teak in there.
the puppet teeth.
Was in, and yeah,
It was all tweaked
and
out.
when I met Sam Whitner,
Yeah.
What's his name? He was telling me he did the voice of Teak in Skeleton Crew. So
Yeah, that puppet teeth was something else.
We joke about it because it looks all like skinny and tweaky. So that's take on point. Oh my God! So, made friends for you both, right? And this one gal was telling me that she's a teacher, and she loves teach. She loves Ewoks. She shows the kids her movies. I can't remember how old they are. Like second grade. Yeah. And they're being second graders messing around, running around this and that. And then one kid just like looks up and goes, "Would you just stop teeking around?" To like the other kid, because he was running around the room fast, so now it's a verb. Stop teeking around.
Leave it to kids. Yeah. I'm going to ask you too, Howie, what's one of your favorite memories of working on the films?
From
from Caravan of Courage, we made the Korax costume, which is the big, scary, bear-like creature, and it fit on John Berg, and he's a tall guy. He's even taller than me. He must be like 6'5" or something like that. So with the shoes on and everything, it was a full costume, and we had finally completed it, and he wanted to go for a walk, like move around, and but we're in a tiny shop in a garage, so he said, I'm just gonna walk around the neighborhood, and we had a neighborhood that was under construction, so like when we started, the house next door had a construction crew. By the time we were almost done, there was like 4 or 5 houses done next. And so the construction crew was pretty far away, but he stepped outside, and I said, go ahead, just walk down to the construction crew. How about just see what they do? And so he okay, and he ran down there, and all the guys with their hammers and the saws and everything, they didn't do anything. They just kind of turned, and John was like, "Rah!" They just kind of froze, like they didn't know what to do. And he went, oh, and he kind of ran back. I love that he went for it. Like, I'm just going to show these guys something.
That's hilarious. No cell phone footage, right? You could have put that on Instagram or something. Oh, that's funny. I'm gonna see if anybody has any questions. Anybody have any questions from that they want to ask? Yes?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah, in my case, I came in at the very last minute. They had been looking. They already had Aubrey Miller. They went to New York. They went everywhere. They couldn't find Mace, and my dad got a phone call from my agent and said, "You have an audition today for an after-school movie special. It's an hour long, and I think you're playing kind of a tough character, so dress like you're a bully." So I went to the audition, and it was at the Egg Factory. I don't know if you remember the Egg Factory. The Egg Factory down across the street from Universal Studios, and it was Lucasfilm's headquarters down here. Now it's a subway station, so it's no longer there. It got tore down. Too bad. They said I wouldn't have to read, do anything. It's just a general interview. They wanted to see if you look right for the part. So I came in, and I met John Cordy and Thomas Smith, and they said, "We like your look. Do you mind reading?" And I said, I never got the sides. Sides are, in our terms, are the script. We call them sides. When you audition, you do cold reading, you get sides, you practice it. Usually beforehand, so I didn't have the time to do it. And they said, well, the executive producer is not here, we want him to see you. Of course, they didn't say it was George Lucas. And I said, okay, I'll go practice him outside with my dad and then I'll come back in. But on one condition, you have to let me do my monologue that I prepared. Because at that time I was studying acting, going to acting workshops, and I had a monologue, and John Cordy looked down at me like, this young kid has a monologue? He didn't say that, but I could sense it. So I went outside, studied, came in, did the lines, then I did my monologue, and later John told me that Tom didn't hit the camera button to record until my monologue started. So that's the only thing George saw, and George wanted me immediately after that. It's a very emotional monologue. I'm a very emotional type of guy, as you saw earlier. So it's a kid crying. So if George sees a kid crying, hopefully he picked me. So, but they wanted to see, and they said, thank you very much, you did a great job. And I didn't hear back from him at all for about a week. And I go, I wonder if I did a good job or not. And he said I did. And then they said they wanted me to do the screen test I just referenced, because they wanted to see how Audrey and I looked together and worked. And then after the day ended, Tom and John went in their office, and they came out about 10 minutes later, and John shook my hand and said, congratulations, you have the part. So he told me that before I even got back to Lane, so it was an interesting time, that's for sure. And they said, I've always had a battle with weight in my family, so I was about 35 pounds overweight. I was a chubby kid. They said, can you lose about 20, 30 pounds before they do that? I said, yeah, I'll try. And I ended up losing I don't know, almost what they asked me. I was real nervous. They said, John, when I said, John, I didn't lose the whole amount you wanted me. You look great. Don't worry about it. But it's okay. I was happy to, even when we were filming, you know, the craft service table gets you in trouble. So they could tell on camera I was starting to put on a little bit more weight again. So they said, you better lay off those cookies or whatever. They didn't say that, I'm joking.
But they also confused you for Luke, right?
Oh, the entire first week I was on the set, people were calling out the name Mark, and then I turned around and they go, well, you're not Mark, you're younger. Even Warwick Davis' mother thought I was Mark Hamill on set. So we did look a lot alike for sure, but younger, yeah. How'd you get the part?
Oh, okay. So, my high school drama teacher, I'm from here in the city, and my high school drama teacher got me an agent, and he sent me on this first audition, and it was in Lawrence County at ILM, and he told me, he's like, you're not gonna get it. He didn't tell me what it was for, right? He's like, you're not gonna get it, but I just want you to go for the experience of it. So I go there, and I don't know if my mom knew or not. Probably not, because she's a big Star Wars fan, and she would have left him like lock her in the car, right? So I went there, and they saw me, and they just like, oh my God, because I'm tiny. And I guess there's not, like, for being a little person, I'm a little person, apparently. So when they saw me, they're just like, instant, boom. She's about the same size as Warwick. Let's hire her to do his stunts. So they hired me to do Warwick stunts. And stunts are like, can you run across the bridge? Okay. Yeah, can you, like, I sat when Warwick sits on this log and burns his butt. He's got like smoke on there. That was the stunt. They put liquid smoke on the costume, and I'm like, okay. So we did it, and it was so funny because, you know, Warwick has a very distinct walk, right? And it must have been around May or something like that, the Beta Breakers here. We used to run it, my friends and I. Not well, but we used to run it. And we would be sore for days. And we were in high school. We'd be sore for days. So we did that. I was so sore. I couldn't walk. And I was walking like this and like, oh my God, you have walked out perfect.
Yeah.
And I was sore. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't walk. So yeah, so I started as that, and then, like I said,
Got the part of Pete.
Wilford wasn't having the puppet
Thank you,
situation.
Wilford.
I know, thank you, Wilford. And so then next thing you know, they're like, okay, go to the picture shop, let's put this on there. And I just went with the phone. Just tell me where to go. Tell me what time and tell me where to go. And, I remember the favorite, do you remember this? The cookie, Mystic Mint.
No, I was only there for a week on the second one.
That second one, that was the cookie, Mystic Mint.
I think we're out of time.
Are we at time? We have time?
Yeah, we have time.
All right, I'll just talk about the Wampa because I was lucky enough to get cast as the guy in the suit. And I don't know if you've ever read stories about guys in monster suits, but it's always described as torture. You know, like you're locked in this thing, you're sweating your ass off, maybe you're hot, you can't get any relief. And I knew that, and I had not been in a creature suit before, but I thought, well, if there's a movie that if I torture myself, I get to be in having already seen The Empire Strikes Back, and I get to be added to that, whatever. I don't care if I have a heart attack, I don't care. So we were sort of building the suit, the head, and getting fur and making the claws, and kind of building up a foam structure that the fur was going to be on. And I knew that it was getting pretty close. We were going to have to cast somebody to be in the suit. So I saw the visual effects supervisor, and I was in charge of the suit building crew. And so I was in the hallway, and here comes the visual effects suit and the art director. And I said, hey guys, we're getting pretty close to the point where we're going to have to cast somebody to be in the suit. And they went, And I went, so I guess we'll just have to go to what? a casting agent, and then we'll have to like find somebody who flies up from LA every time we want to, and put him in a hotel and pay him a bunch of money. And I said, or I can do it. And they both just looked at me like, all right, you can do it. I said, yeah. So that's how that happened.
How convenient. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the panel. And a big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you.